Bill, following up on Corey's question, Thanksgiving week, outside of being with us, what are you thankful for?
Where can I go with that one? Well, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for this football team, these players. I really am. I really, I can't tell you enough how much I enjoy coaching these guys. I wish that some of these games had gone our way, but, they didn't. And it is what it is. But, I'm very thankful to be able to come in here every day and coach these guys. I really am. I'm thankful for that. I just made some good friends here in Penn State, in State College. I'm thankful for that. But mostly it's the fact that I'm thankful for my family and the guys that I coach.
And there you have it, Bill O'Brien telling us what he's thankful for on this Thanksgiving week. You were probably wondering, Lou Prato, why I was asking Bill O'Brien what he's thankful for. But I thought people, his last weekly press conference of the year, I thought it would be nice for people to see what Bill O'Brien's thankful for, maybe give a little perspective on things.
I think he enjoyed hearing that question, too, because he had it ready. I figured he'd say his family. Let's face it first. He says his family name first, but he went into some different things. He still praises the team. And I think he's very sincere about that. I get a lot of people right now, because it's almost the end of the season, one more game, and they're a little cynical about what he's saying all the time. I said, I've always said this since I noticed him. He doesn't criticize the team. He's not negative about the team. Somebody asked him about the special teams. I don't remember if it was you, but somebody come up and he wasn't critical about the special teams. He said, I think you guys about the follow-up, that he would be going to look.
Yeah, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror asked him about the special teams, and he basically said that a couple weeks ago, he said they may take a look at what they're doing on the kickoff coverage team. Obviously, they didn't make a lot of changes, and didn't go real well for them against Nebraska. And he said, at this point of the season, it may be difficult to make a lot of changes.
And why make a change now? I mean, he can't make too many changes. He can't afford any injuries of his starters. I mean, like he said he might put a starter, like some teams do, put starters in there, or a number one backup, a fourth man linebacker or something like that. But no, I don't think. I think if they avoid injuries, I know they're going to play well up there. But boy, I remember 2 years ago, you were there, saw the game. I watched it on TV, and man, it was tough. And this isn't the same team, and it's a different coaching staff and all that. But wow, I just hope that I hope this team can. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a complimentary football game, even if they lose.
Oh, this is complimentary football. We've been talking about it all year.
I really like to see the special teams, the offense.
I think Bill O'Brien would like to see some complimentary football, especially the special teams getting some compliments from somebody. But you know what, though, Lou? This is like a primetime drama where we didn't do any intro. We just dove right into it. People probably wondering what the heck is going on here. This is the Fight On State weekly Bill O'Brien press conference wrap. I'm Mark Brennan. Greg Pickle's usually with us, but Greg, a student. The students have the week off. I mean, what is with that?
I know they get
the students get the whole Turkey Day week off.
Back to my day, man. You almost came to class on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
I mean, professors wouldn't let you leave till 5 o'clock Wednesday night. But things change.
So we, as always, Lou Prato, Penn State sports historian. What's your latest book, Lou?
We Are Penn State: The Remarkable Journey of the 2012 Season.
Where's it available?
Actually, 2012 Nittany Lions. You can Triumph Publishing. You can contact them. Penn State bookstores, Amazon.com. I'm selling it myself. But,
last time you were on, I didn't give you the props of being able to pitch your book.
People want an autograph. They can. They're watching this at Lou Prato at Comcast.net. They can contact me and get a book. But
that actually reduces the value of the book, ladies and gentlemen. So I would just keep it without the.
Well, sometimes some people think so. But, I'm thinking about that in regards to this team. That there are a lot of similarities to what I have in a book to this team. And it'd be nice if Triumph would come back to me and say, how about doing a follow-up on this year? I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, I'm pretty 99% sure they're not going to do it. But you could use some of the same. Some of the same emotion is there in it. And and it's very interesting though that the second game last year was the Virginia game when the kicking went awry, and here we have a game that was sort of the pivotal game. What type of season we were going to have? Nebraska. It was kicking the whole special teams that we said earlier, but.
Yeah.
But these kids have faced a lot. I mean,
They have, and they've done a nice job of bouncing back. Getting back to Bill O'Brien's press conference today, let's hit the people with some of the quick facts. It sounds like injury-wise, they're going to be in pretty good shape this week. Bill Belton will be back.
Will be back.
Von Walker, who was out with concussion, sounds like he'll be back. Adrian Amos, a little bit of a foot problem. It sounds like he's going to be okay to play. So I just wanted to get that kind of out of the way to start. But he's, to me, seemed as if, listen, this is an uphill challenge for them. Going out there, he was asked specifically about being a 23-point underdog, and he said, I don't really look at that, what Vegas has to say. If the Wisconsin people, and Penn State's playing Wisconsin, at Wisconsin, by the way, we probably should have mentioned that a little bit earlier, although most people know it. He said if the Wisconsin folks were saying we're going to beat them by 23 or whatever, it would
That'd
probably
be
lead to
bulletin board
bulletin
material,
board material. But I think at this point, I'm obviously picking them to lose pretty handily. People could check out my prediction on FOS later this week.
I think most people are picking them to lose. They want them to win, and maybe the kids will surprise. There have been bigger upsets in the past.
Right, but
knows?
Lou, they've had this thing where they've bounced back after all their losses, but typically when they've done that, it's been against not a great caliber team, and they've been at home. So you lose a game against Nebraska at home, and you have to wonder how much that it took out of, losing on senior day. Where are these guys going to be emotionally heading out to Wisconsin?
I don't think it's, I won't go there, but let's face it, Wisconsin's going to be up for this game too, because they want to prove that.
Well, it's their senior day too.
But they also want to prove that they want a bigger bowl. I mean, they want a great bowl, and it's just too bad that, let's face it, Penn State doesn't have the horses. But I found something interesting in his news. I found two very interesting things about his news conference.
Okay.
One, he talked about the recruiting a little bit. He didn't go into specific players, but he said he had a great 213 class, a lot of players we haven't heard about yet. He said we're having a very good to excellent
2014.
And he even talked about 250.
Wow.
When did you hear Joe Paterno say that?
No, and I think the other thing that you hit on there is he wasn't only, Lou, talking about the recruiting. He spent some time talking about different players.
Right.
The Andrew Nelsons, Hartman, some of those younger players, Sickles on the defensive side, who we haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't heard of people I haven't heard of.
Right, and so you still have a game left. And, I think that's actually a positive is that whatever happens this week, at the end of the day, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think most Penn State fans, when the sanctions came down, would have been happy with the last couple seasons, the way the record has played out. I think a lot of people would have thought, listen, they're going to be.
If you would have bet back then,
right,
having 8-4 and 6-6, my God, I mean, we believe it.
And,
but go back to what you said. I also think he was sending a message to those kids too.
Well,
I mean, he's encouraging those kids right from the start. I mean, this isn't. I'm not picking on Joe. Joe had a different atmosphere. Joe never mentioned freshmen. The fact that Hackenberg was here before O'Brien. And talked. We can get into that later.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to mention is he was asked about the NFL, and he welcomes the NFL. He said he welcomes the NFL.
In terms of scouts coming,
scouts
being
and
here,
talking to the players. I mean, I know
Right.
that the previous coaching staff talked to the players to do that.
They didn't allow scouts,
but they didn't allow scouts. I mean, Joe is very much
not as much. Yeah,
Joe didn't like the influx of the pros onto the college game, and a lot of people still don't like that. But I think because O'Brien came from that, and more coaches are coming from the pros into college football or going back and forth. There's much more crossover than I think in the past.
Well, and I also think from a recruiting perspective, if the players you have now end up talking to some of these kids who are recruits, and they will say, hey, how did they handle the situation? Say Allen Robinson decides to come back. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he won't. But if he's here next year and a recruit comes in and says, "Hey, listen, you had to make this decision. How did the coaching staff deal with you?" And I think if O'Brien does what he says he's doing, telling kids, giving you this advice, not telling you not to go. If you think it's in your best interest, go ahead. But he'll give you the best advice he can give you. If Allen Robinson can convey that to some of these recruits, and not Allen, or whoever else.
No, but I know what you mean. But I think, let's face it, the time is different than it was in the.
Well, the circumstances are different too.
The circumstances, and these kids can make a bundle of money. I mean, years ago they couldn't make much money. It gets more and more, expensive, and you can't blame the kids for leaving at the end of their junior years, too.
Yeah.
And if Robinson does leave, he does. Does he have his degree yet, or he the one to have to come back?
I think he's going to have it after the spring semester. So he'll be in position to get it.
These kids are fulfilling their academic requirements and moving on.
Yeah.
And you can't blame them. But I think that O'Brien said today that he's very happy. He's happy where we are. I mean, not he used happy. I don't think that was the word. He was satisfied where he was.
No, I just,
how-
generally speaking, I don't know what the exact word is. It's hard because he answers,
Right.
40 questions.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating there a little bit, so it's hard to remember every single word. But I think his point is that he thinks the program is in a good position,
That's
given
what
everything that's gone on.
happened, right.
And I have to agree with him. I mean, I really do. Given everything that they've been up against, and now with some of the sanctions being reduced, I think moving forward, they are about as well positioned as maybe they could have been. Think back a couple of years where they might be.
I think it's amazing where they are. I mean, and the biggest success story out there seems to be Farah, who
Good for him.
who's in for the Groves Award, and that's the kid that left. Everybody understood why he left because his mother, the family was from Texas, and his mother was
Not feeling well, yeah.
Right, So, but I mean, I think that he knew what he was. He knew what he was getting into, but I think there were other things he didn't know what he was going to do because remember the sanctions came.
Well, who would have
after,
known? Yeah,
who knew?
absolutely.
Who knew all that stuff would go down? But I thought he was in a pretty good mood too. He had a sense of humor and.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is because this week is a little bit different. The players don't have classes this week, so they're able to kind of rearrange the schedule. Mike Hull said they play a lot of video games, which is cool.
I thought it was funny though. Mike Hall said what movie they went to, and Brian said they went to Thor, whatever that is. And,
yeah, they go to see movies together, and that's one thing that I think may work in their favor this week. I do think it's going to be difficult for them, but the fact that, listen, they're able to get away from the grind of going to class every day, and it's got to be tough for these kids. I mean, and the coaches and everybody else. So they could back away a little bit, focus on getting ready for Wisconsin. Just relax a little bit, not be under that constant grind. And if there's a little bit of an edge for Penn State going into this thing, I think maybe that's it.
Well, they have
that
nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they could play their hearts out. I think this team will play its hearts out. They showed that against Ohio State. They were down and getting their rear end kicked in, and they still played out there and tough. But
they will play hard, and I don't doubt that. But if you look at what they've done on the road against teams, even against teams that aren't any good like Indiana, and
it's ugly. Yeah.
I don't know how you put your finger on that. I tried to ask him that a few weeks ago. Can you really put your finger? And I appreciate what his answer was, and I completely understand. It's very difficult to kind of figure out those big picture things in the course of the season because you really don't have a time to step back. So that's one of the other things that I wanted to address. Listen, we could sit here and talk X's and O's with Wisconsin, but again, I think it's going to be a tough game for them. I think there are a couple things that to me, he's not looking at it as just this game. And maybe you say, well, he should only be focusing on this.
I think you're right.
But he's talking about coming back, having a staff meeting on Sunday, and then hitting the road or starting to do recruiting stuff on Monday. So that's the way that these guys work. Where this would be everywhere. Years ago, if you weren't going to a bowl, and it wasn't just Penn State, it'd be anywhere. If you weren't going to a bowl and the season ended, the staff might be able to take a week off and recharge a little bit. Not these guys, and they can't. And that's not a knock on the former staff because if they were in the same situation, they would have realized that you have to get to work that next day. But the point being, he's already looking ahead to next season, what they're doing in the end of November, and then obviously this is the end of November, and then early December. Talked last week about some of the recruiting things. He really is kind of focused in. It's too bad that this team doesn't have a bowl to go to, because even if it wasn't
if they had a bowl to go to, the advantage of that would be the extra practices.
Right, but the disadvantage would be now they're going to be able to spend that much more time recruiting. So would you rather? And you're exactly right. Especially with a freshman quarterback, it would be great to be able to get all these young guys that he's talking about all these extra bowl practices. But you don't have it. So you know what? Make the most of it and use that time to focus everything on recruiting.
And I think,
and not just this year, for 14, 15, and 16.
I think in the long run, if you look at this, if you're going to look 3-4 years down the road, it's better not to go to a bowl game this year. Okay, going to a bowl game, the practice might help next year. I mean, they may not have as good as the season next year. You never know. I mean, every team is different. The chemistry changes. The players different. You don't know who's going to pop up and be a star. I mean, who heard of Robinson 3 years ago? Okay, and everybody thought he was leaving when Bolden left. I mean, so because he was a teammate up in Michigan. But again, coming back to what he said at the news conference, I said he kept his humor. And there weren't too many people here. I mean,
I counted, I think it was about 20 media
I
people.
counted 16.
Yeah.
And 2 hangers on in the back.
I might have counted you and Fran Fisher
Well, Fran
as
and
your
I
honorary media people.
are the old guys in the back sitting,
And you each count as 2 each. You're so
That's
old
right.
because you're.
But so he had, the weather was one of the reasons here, but it's also
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, but he wasn't grumpy. I think that he's been moody over the news conferences, the various news conferences, but I think this is one of his better ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche. I mean, he said our record is what it is, and it would be great to finish above 500, but are they better than what they've shown? You can't really say that they are. I mean, it's a cliche.
Use the cliche. It is what it is.
Your record is what it is, and I think he understands that, and I think he understands that this is going to be a tough game this weekend. He talked about stout was the word that was thrown around. It always is with Wisconsin. What is it with
he
this?
talked about that middle. The middle
Stout
guard.
linebackers, stout guards, stout quarterbacks, stout cheerleaders probably.
Well, he was asked, anybody interested in the game, he was asked about the 3-4 defense versus
Right.
the 4-3. And he said, it is different to play against it when you're, and you have to do things. I found that fascinating. If people watch what he said before.
Or just read the transcript, which you'll be able to do.
We'll watch the transcript. I mean, that's where the 2 outside guys play and the linebackers. I thought that was rather fascinating. And also I think I found it when Hackenberg was on here earlier. What a lot of poise that kid has.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't hear one,
I would say all the time. I mean,
and he didn't say that, and he was very poised. He wasn't asked about it, but I found that very, very fascinating that he really has that maturity. And he asked about managing a game, and what he said about managing a game like A.J. McCarron. I just read a piece in Sports.
Oh, he said, who's the one quarterback that you like to follow?
A.J. McCarron.
Yeah,
of
pretty
Alabama.
good guy.
I
to
haven't
follow.
really been following A.J. McCarron. I read the piece last night in Sports Illustrated, all about McCarron. I like him. Now I understand him. He could be like McCarron, and it maybe hopefully for a lot of people, McCarron just might win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, we could, and I know we're getting a little long-winded here, which is a shock when Lou's
When
on,
I'm on
and
here,
me too. I shouldn't blame just you, but Bill O'Brien also talked about Christian Hackenberg and areas that he can develop. He can get bigger. He can get stronger. They had to be careful now. I think it was Travis Johnson of the CDT kept asking about pitch count, and do you kind of have to limit how much he does? And he said, yeah, because he's an 18-year-old kid. You don't want to screw up his arm. He's not a 33, 34-year-old
It's like
guy.
the baseball. They always show the pitch count, get a player out, start a pitcher out at a certain time.
And then the other thing that I asked Hackenberg is, what has this season been like? I mean, you're going into your last game. Has it been a blur? Has it gone fast? He said, yeah, it seems like yesterday I was running out of that tunnel against Syracuse. And I'll tell you what, it seems like yesterday we were doing our first Bill O'Brien press conference wrap. It has flown by.
It has gone fast. I'm just a fan now. I sit up. I don't come to the media and things like I used to. I sit up there with my wife. Man, it was cold last week, but I was there to the end. I mean, a lot
of people were. Congrats to the fans who did that.
I said to my wife, we're going to stay until they sing the alma mater because I want to be there, that I'm a fan. There were a lot more people there that stayed at the end. In fact, there was more traffic jams later while you were writing your stories. We could hardly get out of the parking place.
Yeah, I did all my work up in the press box and waited for everything to clear out before I took off. But before we close, I wanted to remind everybody the Goon Bowl at the G-Man for the Wisconsin game here in State College. If you're in State College, go hang out with Goon and the crowd at the G-Man. It will be a good time. I think there's going to be some special guests there. I'm not going to say who, but I think you might be surprised at some of the people who show up. It will be a good time, I promise you that. Also, we started this with Bill O'Brien telling us what he was thankful for. Lou, what are some of the things that you're thankful for in this weekend, or this week?
I'm like Bill and Wade. I'm thankful for my family. We're not with our family this weekend. They're all spread out, but thankful they're all healthy and very nice. And the new one granddaughter just got married. And I'm also thankful for Thanksgiving because it brings back my tradition of the Lions are playing the Packers. That's what I used to go to those games live, and then we follow up with Matt McGloin leading the Oakland Raiders and the Steelers at night. I know you're going to be rooting against those Steelers. The Steelers.
I'm rooting for McGloin, man. He's playing Dallas.
I mean, McGloin, the Detroit Lions, McGloin, and I hate to root against the Raiders, but McGloin, I want him and I want to see what happens. And then the Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a very nice week if I can stay awake.
It's going to be a great week.
How about you? What do you think?
I'm thankful, obviously, for my wife and daughter, who are the most important people in my life. all my family and friends, especially guys like Lou, who's been nice enough to be a great friend to me, and I'm going to wrap it up on this note. I want to thank all of our people out there who've been with us at FOS for all these years. Newcomers, people who've been with us all the time. You don't know how much I enjoy doing what I do, and I'm thankful that I have the greatest job in the world.
You are very busy doing what you do, and
But you know what?
you have the right wife and the right daughter to do it too.
Trust me, they're the brains, I'm the brawn, but I truly love what I do. The season could be a grind, but I just wanted to take a second at the end of the year, our final Bill O'Brien press conference. This is Lou Prato, I'm Mark Brennan. I want to thank everybody for being with us all year and with us through all these years. Thank you, and have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.